So this is our first draft, and so our title is going to be, I'm sorry guys, my pens are not wanting to work. Conclusion paragraph. You're going to keep it and use it as a cheat sheet. This is your conclusion paragraph. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at our examples that we started looking at this morning. This was our reflection for our do now. We're going to use this to kind of guide us. And what I see is that they said, although the fire. So I noticed that they mentioned the event first, right? So my first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my finger here. I love how Gabby and Natalia are looking. And I'm going to start my sentence here. I will only need to indent my first line. So I'm going to write down my event. So now you need to write down your event. During, while.
Oh, we're not skipping along.
And what the next thing I notice is that it says Esperanza and Miguel react very differently. So I'm going to mention my characters. And my characters are Esperanza and Miguel. I don't have enough space here. Well, maybe I do. Again, I'm not passing my faded red line, so I'm going to skip a line and I'm going to move back here. Now I no longer need to indent. I'm saying that because some people had indented the entire time. When you indent just the first line and you move back over. During the fire, Esperanza and Miguel react differently. I specifically said to make sure that it said mouth. That's the reason. No. Interesting. Some people are following instructions, some people are struggling. Alright, so here's what Jada came up with. She said, during Mama's sickness, comma, Mama and Esperanza react differently. Matter of fact, I honestly do not have a critique for this. She had spelled everything right. She's capitalized Mama's name. She spelled Esperanza right. There's no misspelling. She ended it with a period. If you need to, you can. Okay, what you need to know about the comma is that the comma gives you a pause. I know I keep referring back to my husband, but he makes simple mistakes still, and he's a great writer, but he still struggles with little minor details, and he usually forgets the comma where there needs to be a comma placement. Just listen to how I'm saying this. During Mama's sickness, Mama and Esperanza react differently. Do you hear that pause? Anytime you read something and it's got a comma, you just do a slight pause. And that lets you know whether it's done right or not. Braylon? Okay.
She has uppercase S.
It does look like an uppercase S. So now that's all she needs to do is erase it and make it look lowercase. Okay? Thank you. All right. Are we good with the first sentence? Yes, sir. So you need to write down during your event, what was the event that you picked? Or you can write when Miguel loses his job. So-and-so react differently. All right. If you notice, the second sentence is when they describe why they reacted differently. So my note says, she's wealthy. She's not used to working. So right here, I'm going to write down what I had written on my note catcher. But I'm going to turn this into a sentence, okay? Because some of us shorthanded. So now you're taking what you have shorthanded and you're turning it into a sentence. Now you're telling me why so-and-so reacted differently. So you should have already written your first sentence that explains that during your event or when your event took place, so-and-so reacted differently. Now you're going to explain why. Mine's a little bit lengthy. I just wrote about Esperanza, just telling you why I think she's not reacting. Esperanza comes from a wealthy family, so she's not used to having to take responsibility for anything. She ends up not doing a thing as a result during the fire. So I explained to you why she didn't do anything. Now you're going to tell me, so you're going to go back to page 89, and you're going to tell me why your first character reacted some type of way. Does that make sense? You're going to be doing the same thing for the second character. If you notice they use the words in contrast, I expect you to use the same words in contrast. That means they while someone acted this way, the other person reacted a different way. Okay? So you're going to start off with saying in contrast, so-and-so did something, didn't do something, felt this type of way because blah, blah, blah. Okay? So then I wrote for my second one, I put in contrast, Miguel already knows how to take charge because he has always been responsible. He's been a servant most of his life. So he already knows how to act and take responsibility and take charge when things happen. Exactly. So yours is going to be similar. So you're going to tell me character 1 and character 2 react differently. This is different. Remember, you're talking about Miguel losing his job. So we're going to write down what Anthony wrote down. When Miguel loses his job, Esperanza and Miguel react differently. Turn that piece of paper so you don't have to write. Something that I noticed with Braylon, I love what he wrote. This is about just his first character. He said, Esperanza is a girl who is very reactive to little things. Yeah, that's just how she is. She's a little girl. She's going through some things, and she's still learning how to deal with her emotions, right? So I agree with Braylon. She's a girl, and he came up with this himself, who is very reactive to little things. And then he starts off with, in contrast, Miguel, and then he's going to wrap that up with his own point of view, his own thoughts about Miguel. Yes, I'm expecting you to. You can go off the notes that you wrote on page 89. So I'm going to go off of what JT and Jada had came up with. So she restated her focus statement. She said, during Mama's sickness, Mama and Esperanza react differently. Then she backs that up and she restates pretty much what she wrote for point 1 and point 2. Esperanza was scared because Papa died and she thought Mama was going to die. Yes, that's why she felt that way. In contrast, Mama was trying to be strong for Esperanza so she would not be scared. Again, you're telling me why your characters are reacting some type of way. You guys are getting it. I'm very proud. I'm coming. So after you're done, you're going to tell me that Esperanza was mad because of this. Okay? You're pretty much going to copy this, but you're going to make it into and then you're going to start. I'll come back for a second. So go ahead and say, you're going to skip a line, you're going to say Esperanza was mad because whatever you wrote here. Okay? Christopher? Oh, yeah, that's fine. Do you need help? Do you still know what to do? Right? Exactly. That's perfect. In contrast, Esperanza was, how'd you go? Okay, here's what Gabby came up with. I love it. I know her points are there. So she gave me her event. She said during the immigration sweep. So we already know what event is she talking about. The immigration sweep. Hortensia and Esperanza react differently. Again, she is restating that focus statement. She tells me Hortensia is calm and used to everything. That's why she's calm. She's used to everything. While Esperanza was scared because she's not used to this. That tells me again, why did they react some type of way? Good job, Gabby. I need your introductory. Are y'all done? I need your introductory and your conclusion paragraph when you're finished. Okay. So when you guys get finished. Okay, you've got one more sentence, and that is, give me 1 second here, and that's this last sentence. Again, what did they do? They wrote down these very different reactions show that life you lead can affect how you react in a situation. What does those different reactions show you? Thank you. So I'm going to end it with these reactions are different because of their responsibilities. You may. Thanks. paper.